Howdy folks, and welcome to this episode of Michael's Backyard Marina. I gotta tell you a little story that happened to me about a month and a half ago maybe now. It was still warm outside, and you can see this shirt, it's got a lot of flowers on it, right? I was standing at the back of my shop, this is no lie, standing at the back of my shop, and I had this thing go, ooh, and it was literally like this far away from me, just hanging there. I thought it was a big old giant bumblebee at first because I heard the buzzing sound until I looked at it, and it was a hummingbird. No kidding, hummingbird. And it came in there and stared at me. And it probably was like, call it 6-7 seconds, which in hummingbird world is a long time to just sit there. You start counting 1001, 1000. That was a long time. He just sitting there staring at me. He made a couple of quick adjustments. And he was just looking right at me, didn't look away. And I didn't realize it until after I walked away. I'm like, that was the weirdest encounter I've ever had with a hummingbird. I'm pretty sure he thought I was a flower. I'm pretty sure he thought he was going to come and get some nectar off of me, and then realized I wasn't a flower, and then he buzzed off. It was pretty cool. It was a neat experience. I just thought I had to share that with you folks. But anyway, I have picked up a 35 horse Johnson. I'll touch base with you on the year. The year will probably be in the description, but it's a long shaft, and the guy I bought it from, I went and picked it up. I tried 2 hours to go get it. Told me that he took it to a marina, and I actually passed right by the marina, and I told my wife there when we were going to pick it up, I said, I wonder if this is where the guy took it. And sure enough, he had said, yeah, it was at the marina that he had in his description and whatnot, and sure enough, that was right there in the neighborhood. And what? Boss is checking up on me again. Is it time to go? You said I had 30 minutes.
30 minutes ago.
I haven't been out here 30 minutes.
How long does it take to get to Riverside?
Leave it 8 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
I can finish this intro?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay to finish it.
What?
I'm okay to finish it.
Yep.
You sure?
As long as it's in 5 minutes or under.
Boss has spoken. I got to finish this intro up. Anyway, took it to the marina. The marina told him that it had low compression and they weren't going to be able to fix it. I don't know if they gave him any other options, or they told him it was just going to cost way too much to fix it versus replace it, because that's what you can run into. If you start boring and ringing and put new pistons in these old motors, you can run into a lot of money. And new motors aren't cheap, and old motors aren't cheap to fix. So, but I've got 1, 2. And number 3 is on the floor in pieces. 3 35 horse between Johnson and Everroot. I'm hoping between the 3 of them, they're all 35s. Between the 3 of them, I can get one of them up and going again. Now, ideally, I'd put a tiller back on here if I could, and turn it back into a tiller steer, because it's a long shaft, and I'd put it on the back of that banana just out of curiosity, see how fast it would push that old banana boat around like that. But we'll do some examination. But first thing I gotta satisfy curiosity on is how much compression does it have? Because if it does have good compression, then they lied to him, and there's something else they didn't want to try to mess with, or they were trying to sell him a new motor. That's going to be the first thing. It wouldn't be the first time I've run into a situation that I've had people tell me that, oh, they said they couldn't fix it, it was going to cost more to fix it than it's worth, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out to be something very insignificant wrong with it. So this has got electronic ignition. I see it's got a power pack on it. And I do have the controls for it, the key switch, the external controls for it. So we can hook it up and make it run, hopefully. But we're going to get after, look at that. Put the big boy hat on the 15 horse. We're going to check compression because I'm really, really curious if they were telling him the truth. And if they were, awesome. I appreciate them telling him the truth. But if they lied, then shame on them. All right, let's pull these plugs. Let's spray a little oil in there to make sure we're not spinning it over dry. And let's check some compression. Let's just take a quick little walk around this thing before we check the compression. One thing is I noticed is discoloration. You see how much darker this is than this? Makes you wonder if maybe it overheated, possibly. If that's one of the culprits, if it is compression. It's all complete. It's all here. But I was just turning it over by hand. Don't seem like there's a lot there. So something definitely went whammo on it, possibly. Let's pull them spark plugs and see what we can see. But so far the prognosis looks pretty bleak. Oh, well, the spark plugs weren't even tight. Like brand new spark plugs. Well, looks like never been fired. Well, let's screw the old compression tester in there and see what we got. Yeah, we only got about 25 pounds on both cylinders. Kind of weird that both cylinders dropped out the same amount. Curiouser and curiouser. Almost makes me wonder if just the head gasket went. Well, I think I'm going to do a couple things before I call it quits on this one because of low compression. We could have had lots of things could have happened. I'll read you exactly what the guy wrote, but I'll leave the name of the marina out because the marina was correct. No misleading there. It was definitely low compression, and they said they weren't going to fix it. So that's real. And let's see here. So this is an 86 Johnson, 35 horse. Ran up until early August. Now it will turn over but won't start. Took it to the marina, was told low to no compression, and they wouldn't fix it. Might be a good project motor or parts motor for someone. Took it off the boat today and don't want it taking up any space in my shed. And that was about, it said listed 8 hours ago. That's when I started talking to him about it. So he put a different motor on his boat. It was running, but then now it ain't. So it could easily be a couple of things that happened here, and that's what I'm going to go after. It could have been, this looks a little warm. The impeller could have went out on the water pump, and it stopped pumping water, caused this thing to get hot. And obviously it's not seized. It sounds real smooth. It could have got warm and blown a head gasket because it got too hot. Or it could have done some other damage, but we'll know that as soon as we pull the head off. We'll see what's going on behind there. Now I took pictures of all this so I know how to put it back together because that's what I do. But we're going to get under here. I think I can pull this head off. Relatively confident I can pull this head off without pulling the power head clean off. At least so we can take a look at it. I'm going to pull this plate off and then I'll pull the head off. Because the thermostat will be under here. That might clue me in on something. Maybe the thermostat's froze too. And but what I'd really like to do is put a new gasket on it. See if something looks like obvious around the gasket. If it is, then I will put a new gasket on it and put the head back on and check it for compression again. And that's all it's going to cost me is the gasket. And if it still doesn't have compression after I put the new gasket on it, then we'll probably call it a parts motor. Here's another clue that this got really hot. Look at this coil. It was melted onto here. This thing got to really warm. That's why the paint's discolored. It did overheat. Oh, look at that. That Look how bad that was melted onto there. Holy smokes. Just melted. Yeah, she overheated. No doubt about it now for sure. That's a definite clue. Melted that stuff on there. I got to get one more bolt down here off, and I can pull this cover off, and then I'll pull the head off. But yeah, she might be completely toast. Well, I tell you guys what, other than the head gasket giving out, I think, I'm probably talking a little loud here, I'm close to the camera, but, you know, there's still the original crosshatch, maybe a rebuilt crosshatch, I don't know, but it's still crosshatch in the cylinders. And there ain't a score line anywhere. Those cylinders are perfect. I have a sneaky suspicion that the water pump might have given out, and she got a little warm, ran a little hot, and ran hot enough that it blew the gasket, because the gasket looks a little, I don't know. It's kind of hard to pull it off without. But this here is all messed up around through here. And it's hard to tell if it gave out or not. It's all kind of bulging in here. But that could have been from the heat. I don't know. I think it's worth investing in a head gasket, retorquing this thing, and see if I can get compression back. Because I had 25, and these head bolts, they were barely tight. I have a feeling they might have pulled them off. I don't know. The dealer might have pulled them off. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say what happened. It feels like these have been pulled off before, but maybe the bolts weren't crazy tight because this thing got hot, expanded things a little bit. Once it cools off, things aren't quite as tight as they were once they run a little warm. Things could have had a little stretch going on there. The other thing I noticed is the old thermostat. This could have caused it to overheat. I see the thermostat itself is out of whack. This is supposed to be down, seated flat in there, but you can see what's going on there. It's a little sitting in there crooked. That should be square, so it does need a new thermostat. But that won't stop me from checking compression, because if I got compression back, a couple new coils, and I'm back in business. Like the old guy I like to watch, I shouldn't call him old guy, I'm old too, but this old Outboard, like he says, I almost quote his line, if you got good compression, the rest of it's just a pain in the ass. But in this situation, there's no compression, but these cylinders are really clean. I mean, there's not hardly any buildup on the top of these pistons. I mean, it's for an 83 or whatever I said it was, that thing is interior wise looks gorgeous. Well, I'm going to call it for this episode, folks. I think we learned a lot about this motor. I'm systematically going through this one. I'm going to take you with you step by step. That's why I'm going to break this up into probably multiple pieces, the video into multiple parts, because I want to be careful. If you guys end up getting a motor like this, I want you to end up being able to work on it yourself, hopefully, and with minimize your loss in case it turns out to be a total piece of junk. Where in this case here, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a new head gasket in it. I'm going to clean up the gasket surfaces, make sure they're still flat. I'm going to put a new head gasket on it, retorque it, and I'm going to recheck my compression because the cylinder walls look beautiful. No scoring like you normally see possibly from heat. It was an interesting thing I ran into. I encourage you guys to go check out a guy on YouTube. It's called Cody Bass, Kodibass. He's a good guy to watch. And it was weird because I picked this outboard up yesterday. Obviously it had overheated and it had some melted pieces. And this morning, I'm sitting there catching up on some YouTube videos, and a video that he had put out 3 years ago on a 30 horse, this is a 35, on a 30 horse, had overheated, had a blown head gasket. He got the compression back and it runs like a top again. So I thought it was kind of coincidental. I'm thinking, gotta listen to the universe. It's telling you something. So I have a feeling that's what I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna go ahead. If I got compression back, then great. Then I'll go after replacing those ignition coils, and then we'll check for spark because it is electronic ignition. We'll check for spark. If we got spark and we got compression, all we need is fuel. And this one here hasn't been not running for very long. I mean, it was in August when it died, so it hasn't been sitting a crazy long time. I get some fuel back in it. Carburetor may be okay. He never said anything about it not running really well. He just said it just stopped running when it overheated. Now, once I get the top end where I think it's doing okay, we're going to pull the gearbox off because I definitely want to check that water pump to make sure that it didn't all start when the water pump possibly stopped pumping and caused it to overheat. I do know that looking at the thermostat that it did fail. So you guys hang in there. All these motors that I'm working on, I think I'm going to have to start. It takes a lot of time to do them from start to finish and try to get you one good video out of it out there with it running. I think I'm going to have to start creating some series because it does take time to get some parts in here, and I want to get you guys something out there that might help you along. But the one thing I do want to plan on doing is getting all these motors running. At the very least, you'll see them running in the test tank. I will also tell you if I'm going to part something out that I've started, because that could be very easily. So I hope you guys enjoyed this part one of the discovery of this. What went wrong? Definitely overheated, no question about it. I think we know why, maybe. Well, we don't really know why. We know why the compression was lost because of the head gasket, because of the overheating. We don't know whether it was the thermostat or the water pump that went out on it. And there again, I'm a firm believer in replace that water pump at least every other season because it is rubber. It does age from the time it's made at the factory. It begins to age, and then once it's in the water and in use, it ages even faster. Anyway, you guys get out there and have some fun. Hit that like button or that thumbs up button if you like what you see. I much appreciate it. All you new subscribers, welcome aboard. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It would be great. You guys get out there, enjoy life. This is Michael, and I'm out.